Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. It's episode number 91. Sorry I haven't done an episode in a couple of days. Sometimes I start an episode and I don't finish it, and then I try to get back to it, but a couple of days go by. It's just called life, folks. I wish I was getting paid to do this. I believe I would be one of the best out there, but right now I'm not, so I have to do other things. But back to the Knicks. So basically, like I said early in the season, the Knicks start falling out of playoff contention. I will start covering a little bit more college basketball on who the Knicks should draft and things like that. Not every episode, every couple of episodes, stuff like that. But it may come a time where it's just garbage time on the season. And that is usually when you're not eliminated, but you're like 6 games out with like 20 games left. 7 games out with like 20 games left. Shit like that. Then at that point, it makes no sense to, you still could do our podcast, actually. But I would just cover like March Madness and things like that. So, again, like I said, this season is a win-win kind of season. If you make the playoffs, good. If you don't, it's okay. I just really don't like everybody's thinking now. We live in such a microwave society. Everybody wants it now. Like I always said, perfect is completely the enemy of good. That's why teams who are good will tear it down to become perfect, and it never happens. Perfect never happens. Because you can have a stacked deck and still not win a championship. If Dwayne Wade in his prime, if LeBron James in his prime, Chris Bosh in his prime can lose to Dallas Mavericks, regardless if you want to say LBJ choked, it doesn't matter. That was a fucking juggernaut team, and they still lost. They lost twice, actually. The NBA is hard, folks. That's why I really respect Toronto Raptors. They could have kept trying to tear it down. Let's think about Toronto Raptors. They haven't won they never won a championship, right? It might as well be in the same category with the Knicks. Even though the Knicks won 1 years ago, most of us wasn't born. It is what it is, right? So, do you think their fans would say, we're only a 2 or 3 seed, we're never going to win a championship, let's tear it down? These are the glory years of the Toronto Raptors. They're going to look back on this. They're going to retire Lowry's number. They're going to retire DeRozan's number. They're going to look back at this and say, we had a nice playoff run. No, we wasn't a championship contender, but see, what happens is, day 2, 3 seed, you stay right there. Injuries happen. You never know. You find yourself in the finals. As a Knicks fan, everybody should know this, because didn't that happen with in 1999? It wasn't injuries, but we was the 8th seed and we caught fire, and we went all the way to the championship. Shit like that does happen, folks. It does happen. So I don't believe in tearing down a good team, because it's very hard to get a good team. Look at Orlando. See, everybody talks about picks. Orlando has been picking high in the draft since Dwight Howard left, and they still haven't found one franchise player or one star. That's another reason why everybody said, Phil Jackson, he just drafted Porzingis. Ho-hum, no big deal. No big deal. He drafted a potentially top 5 player. Teams tried 20 years in the draft without getting that. Without that. You know what I'm saying? Teams, what? A franchise player? That's your only job as a GM. Once you have your franchise player, you're on your way for at least 10 years of playoff time. Think about it. There has not been a franchise player that I can think of who hasn't made the playoffs year after year. Maybe they don't win a championship, but year after year make the playoffs. If the team is built around that team, built around that player. There hasn't been. It just hasn't been. So that's what you have to think of. The Knicks have their franchise player, and they have ancillary parts. They have a good beginning. This has been a good season regardless. This has been a good season. They just need staying power. And I believe that teams tend to tail off towards the end because they start really not believing they're good. Like, the Knicks made some comments after yesterday's loss. Terrible loss to the Hawks. I was angry at first, and then I thought about it, and I said, these are the kind of losses that can build character. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s mind is so fixed on scoring that he had the ball with 42 seconds, and instead of bringing the ball out, he didn't have the presence of mind to do that. He shot it real quick like the Knicks are losing. Some players like to stay on the offensive. Look, it is what it is. I'm not into the blame game and whose fault it is, because there was many things they did against the Hawks, letting them get back in the game and having that game. But one thing I got to talk about is that bullshit that the refs pulled. I don't want to criticize the refs because I believe that it kind of balances out at the end of the day. But this year, I've seen some of the biggest mistakes I've ever seen since I've watched basketball. One, a few games ago, I don't remember the game, but it was a shot that went in the basket. It went inside the basket, and the team and the fucking refs missed it. 3 refs on the court. Nobody saw it go inside. And I don't understand. The ball goes up. You're not looking at the ball. I don't understand that. Then, yesterday was the worst I've ever seen in my life. He had 3 free throws. You gave him 2. And so you're telling me if players just grab the rebound on the second shot that y'all just going to let people play? Or y'all not going to pay the fuck attention? Pay attention? I'm really serious. Those refs shouldn't even get a game check for yesterday's game. That's how bad that call was. How you miss a free throw? Oh, yeah, he was 3 refs. 3 referees. It ain't on the players. 3 referees. They catch the shot clock. They catch every fucking thing. They so worried about players arguing and fighting. 3 fucking shots. So then the Knicks go down, get a 3-point play, which probably would have sealed the fucking game. And the damn refs say, wait a minute, we forgot to give him the last free throw, so we got to take them points. That what you saw happen just didn't happen. And to me, then y'all kept hearing the guy saying a correctable mistake. No, it's not a correctable mistake. It's not. It's just a regular season game, so there's no weight on the game. But if that would have been a playoff game, that would have been a big fucking problem. NBA got issues. NBA has freaking rigged issues. Saying I don't believe that they rigged the games, but there's a lot of people out there that believe that the NBA games are rigged or pushed in a certain fashion that's better for the league. And anytime you take points away, it rears its ugly head. All they had to do is let them shoot a free throw and give them the ball. It was their ball. The Knicks had scored. Because what happened with Tim Hardaway, the thing is, you can't retroactively do something. So my thing is, what happened with Tim Hardaway Jr. when he scored and it was a 3-point play, that did happen. You can't just take that back and say, all you had to do, I believe, all they had to do, because my thing is, not letting him get his 3rd shot, his 3rd free throw, didn't have any effect on what Tim Hardaway did. It wasn't like people were standing around. They were playing defense. The ball was taken out. They scored. So instead of retroactively taking 3 points away from us, how about just giving them the ball, let them shoot the free throw, and ball outside? Problem solved. Because he was a free throw short and it was their ball. Why they couldn't just do that? Why would you take points away from something? So I don't really know, and I have to check this, but I wonder if they put the time back on they have to put the time back. But I haven't. Now, these are only 2 things I've seen with the Knicks. I'm sure around the league, you can't let a guy who's supposed to shoot 3 free throws shoot 2, take points away from it. What the fuck is going on? That shit don't seem professional to me. But the Knicks still should have won. And again, this is a reminder to me and other Knicks fans, the Knicks team is still trying to become a good team. See, they lost that game mentally yesterday. First of all, I hate matinee games. I don't know why they always do that to the Knicks. I think the Knicks in the the Nets maybe are the only team. Some teams, matinee games are so stupid for NBA players. It is, especially when you're talking about a Sunday after a Saturday. Like, really? Like, that's not good. And you know the funny thing about matinee games? The NBA is so greedy. They don't realize they're always, at least in the first half, always not really good. It's not really good games. It's not really good games. Players are still waking up. They was out, probably drinking the night before. You know, it also probably could lead to injuries. Why not make it a 3 o'clock game? A fucking noon game. Nobody, think about it. What league starts a game that I know, at least 3 professional leagues, baseball never starts at noon, and football never starts at noon. It's just stupid as fuck. But anyway, I digress. So, again, like I was saying, you know, I just thought that was some bullshit. Again, also, Kristaps being the man this year, he's learning how to be a leader. There's some growth with this team regardless. I just want them to get to 30 wins at least. That's all. I just want them to beat the Vegas odds. You know, get to 30 wins and then build upon that, you know. But for all of them people who talking about tanking, it's because their eyes are only... See, this is the problem with all them people that talk about tanking and possibly getting the #1 pick. You're stupid. And even the professionals, the ones, I'm talking about the professional analysts, you're stupid. I heard another guy, supposed to be coach, talk about Kristaps. You don't want to win yet. You need to get more. You're stupid. You're dumb. You're dumb. You're dumb. There's too many examples. There are too many examples in the NBA of players that are selected late in the first round, second round, middle of the first round who become stars, who become really good. Jimmy Butler was the 24th pick or 23rd pick. Kyle Kuzma looks like the best Laker. He was picked in the 20s. Get the fuck out of here with that stupid ass mentality. But guess who was also drafted high? Anthony Bennett. Garbage, out the league. Greg Oden, not playing. Injuries. Hassim Thabit, #2 pick. Trash. Didn't even last a year in the league. You see what I'm saying? There's no guarantee. So you don't play for ping pong balls. Again, I can go through drafts and drafts. Like I said, I went through 10 years of drafts. And do this on your own if you want. And I realized out of the top 10 picks year after year, only one becomes a star. Now, understand how to draft, how I did it. Because there are some drafts where nobody became a star. There's multiple drafts where nobody became a star and those serviceable players. And then you have drafts where you have 3 or 4 stars in the top 10. Then you have drafts where you have no stars in the top 10, a couple of stars, 20 and better. Ginobili was a second-round draft pick. Monte Ellis was a second-round draft pick. Remember him? Isaiah Thomas was a second-round draft pick. Draymond Green, second-round draft pick. You're only as good as your scouting, folks. Nobody's going to make this shit easy for you. Don't think, oh, we got a top pick, so we could just select one of the guys with all the talent. It doesn't work that way. And I want to also talk about another stupid thing I'm hearing. I'm hearing people say tear the Knicks down, trade Kylo Quinn, trade Courtney Lee. Look, understand this. If you trade Courtney Lee, you're not getting a first-round draft pick, fam. You're not, unless it's 25 later. At that case, most of the time, there's probably not a player in the 25th pick as good as Courtney Lee. Chances are. Kylo Quinn, you're getting a second rounder for him. Is there a second rounder that can come in the league and do what Kylo Quinn does? You see, making trades just to say trading and getting younger is dumb. It's dumb. Look at all the teams that try to have the whole team be young. It's never good. Unless you get transcendent players like Westbrook and Durant, it never works. You can't have a team full of young players. You have to have veterans, and veterans who can play. Not veterans who sit on the bench like Noah, and now he's bitching. I thought he'd be good for the team. I guess not. And I don't blame him. He wants to play. I think he should play, honestly. And if he can't play, don't play him. But, you know, speaking of Hornacek, I think he's going to get fired because to me, all right, Hornacek's problem with me right now is I think that he's lacking in the people skills department, which is everything a coach needs to have. You don't need to argue with players. Think about it. Let's look now. Let's look. We got a little bit of things that we can cover when it comes to Jeff Hornacek. Reportedly, he called Porzingis a pussy, and not to his face. I respect you saying to his face. You know, he let veterans run amok when Carmelo was here and everything. He also let Phil Jackson dictate what kind of system to run when all he had to do was say, yo, I'm running what I want to fucking run. Fire me and pay me the money you owe me. Period. Because you know what? Phil Jackson was not going to fire him because he just fired another guy in Derek Fisher who he gave $25 million to. Yeah, Derek Fisher got fired for trying to do his own thing and also messing with the players' girlfriends. But he was trying to be his own man. So how you going to turn around and call another dude a pussy and you're running another coach's system when you're supposed to be the coach? Come on, man. That was a problem in itself. So that's why Phil Jackson had to go, because I just thought that was some weird shit from day one. If you hire a coach who coaches the triangle, that's different. But if you hire a coach and say, oh, you know, come on, man. Get that motherfucker up out of here. So that's issues. And then you have this run-in with Noah, who's really respected on the team, believe it or not. And he's elite defense. He's been put it like this. He's an elite defensive mind. You want to have that on your bench, talking to Cantor, telling them what to do in those situations. You want that on your bench, right? But no, not the Knicks, not Hornacek, because my ego is bruised. Who's really the pussy here? So the team plays hard for Hornacek. I give them that. The team plays hard for him. They try to win. Also, too, I have a big bone to pick with Hornacek yesterday. Yesterday's game, Kylo Quinn had the ball. I don't know if you remember. I don't know how many seconds was left. I think it was under a minute. I know they was trying to run a play. Kylo Quinn got the ball. Trey Burke, exactly why I don't like little point guards. The little guy, he couldn't get free of his man, which is bullshit. I don't know how to understand how you can't get free of your man. One thing I used to love about Michael Jordan, I used to always see teams used to always try to stop him. Michael Jordan would become Jerry Rice. He's like, oh no, I'm gonna shake the fucking shit out of you. I'm gonna get that fucking ball. You're not stopping me from getting the ball. Same thing with Kobe. Great players get that fucking ball. Period. And Trey Burke, for some reason, he couldn't get it through his man. So then Kylo Quinn, same thing with Kristaps. Kristaps was on one side. Trey Burke was on the other side. Kylo Quinn was looking confused. Now, right then and there, we had timeouts. What the fuck are you saying for? You're going to take them home and put some, you're going to put them on some bread and you're going to eat them? I don't understand. Right then and there, Hornacek should have called a timeout. I don't mind him not calling a timeout to let the team run its play. I don't mind that. But once you saw Kylo Quinn with the ball, and I said to myself, once he dribbles, it's over. Kylo Quinn cannot dribble and walk at the same time. I bet you if they do dribble drills, he's going to kick the ball. And I love Kylo Quinn, but this guy doesn't know his limitations. If honestly, if he was young, if he was 19, man, you could turn him into something because he doesn't know his limitations. And people like that can actually grow into something great. But at this point, you have clear limitations. And one of your limitations is you cannot drive to the hoop, dog. You have no moves around the hoop. Maybe you need to work it in the offseason, work on that, become more offensive minded. But right now, when Kylo Quinn puts the ball on the floor, it's going to be a bad outcome for the Knicks. And sure enough, he put the ball on the floor. He actually took a decent shot, but it still was a bad outcome. When you got Tim Hardaway Jr., you got Tim Hardaway Jr., Kristaps Porzingis, Trey Burke, all on the court, all scorers on the court at the same time, and Kylo Quinn takes the shot. That's on the coach. That's on the fucking coach. My problem with firing Jeff Hornacek, like I said, I'm still not ready to fire him yet. And also, I'm not ready to fire him because anytime you think about firing somebody, just like anytime you think about a trade or trading someone, you have to consider, what are you getting for that? Like, you know, how they say the grass is always greener, you got to find out what's on the other side. So you fire Hornacek, who's not a terrible coach. Who you going to hire? Who's out there? You don't want to retread. And don't mention Mark Jackson. I don't like him as a coach. I don't like Van Gundy as a coach. Not saying they're not good coaches, but they're not made for this NBA. You need an offensive whiz. That's what you need. You need an offensive whiz. We got a team with the second best record in the league, coached by a guy who doesn't even teach defense at all, in D'Antoni. And he's done it twice. It's the second time. He's been able to put a team together to coach in the image, in the way he likes to play, and both of those teams were spectacular. I don't want him back. So, to tell you the truth, the way the Knicks are playing defense, they're really going against the grain. And I know that somebody said in the comment section that Golden State has a good defensive team. They do have a good defensive team. They do. They just happen to have some two-way players on their team. But don't make any mistake. They're not a defensive team. They can play good defense, but they're an offensive team. Utah's a defensive team. Well, they used to be. I don't know if they still can hold that, but that's what I'm saying. So, who do you bring in? Who do you bring in? And I don't mind if the Knicks don't bring in someone who's popular, a college coach or whatever, but he has to be steeped in today's basketball. I don't want an old head. You know, I don't want a guy who played ball in the 90s, because you know what? They can't get out of their own head. They can't. I need a guy who can adapt to the way the league is playing now. That's why I would prefer a younger coach who can grow with the Knicks. Maybe a college coach. Maybe you catch a hot college coach. You know, sometimes, all right, this is how you catch the hot college coach. Like they did with Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens was on his way to a major job. I think he was coaching Butler. Actually, he was coaching Butler. He was coaching Hayward. It's a good coaching gig, but he was about to get one of the major colleges. He was about to go there. And before that happened, the Celtics snagged him. That's what the Knicks need to look at in the college ranks. Who's a really good coach, really is good with the players, who runs an up-tempo system, who likes to shoot threes, you know, and it's probably because Brad Stevens, also understand this about Brad Stevens, he was the next big coach. Who was the next big coach? You can also look at assistants. I don't believe in assistants. I don't believe in hiring assistant coaches as coaches because they've never been coaches. I don't think Luke Walton is a good coach. I just don't really like him as a coach. He just runs the system that Golden State runs, but I don't think he's a really good coach. I mean, part of it is he played for the Lakers and his father's Big Red. A little bit of nepotism there. I'm serious. I don't really think he's a great coach, because it's not just the mastermind. You also got to be a people manager. And that's where I think that Hornacek lacks. Who in the college ranks? I don't know. I'm going to do some investigating. I'm going to come up with some names and throw them out there and see what y'all think about it. You know, but I'm not giving up on my Knicks. Other teams go through losing streaks. They're losing right now. That loss to the Hawks was excruciating. It was a terrible fucking loss. It was a terrible loss. There's no way around that. There's no way around that. But you know why the Hawks won that game? They know they're not good. They're not a good team. But on any given day, with the way they shoot threes, they have a chance. And that's what happened with that game. The Knicks keep shooting well, but losing games because they don't shoot threes. I see it over and over again. The Knicks are the best two-point shooting team in the league. And guess what that gets you? Not a fucking thing. It's just dumb to play any other way right now at this point. It just really is. You're scoring in the paint, under the hoop, or shooting threes. That's it. You can take mid-ranges every now and then. See, when Kristaps shoots his mid-range, that's just like a layup. So I don't mind that. I'm not saying don't shoot mid-range, but you want to limit that. The thing is, the funny thing about the Knicks is they think they're doing something by shooting a high percentage from two, when teams letting them do that. Teams are saying, shoot from two. Shoot from two. We're going to shoot from three. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what's going on with the Knicks. You know, shoot from two. We'll let you do it. And that's what's going on. And that's why the Knicks can shoot 60% and still lose by 5. Shoot 60% and have a 1-point lead, while the other team is shooting 40%. They're shooting 40%, but all from three-point range. That has to happen, folks. And they got people who can shoot threes. Also, too, I want to mention, I think Doug McDermott is out of here. He had a chance. He had a spark. Everybody was rooting for him, but he's a bum. He's garbage. I'm not going to let him take up a roster spot unless he's willing to come back for $2 million. He's garbage. He's not. He has decent athleticism, but his jump shot is broken right now, and I don't think he's a part of the team's future unless he's just not. Because people think that he's a shooter, and he's not really a shooter. He's more of a scorer. He did a beautiful fadeaway the other day. He's a lights out scorer. He can score, but in the NBA, see, this is why you got to be careful with the college ranks. In college, he's bigger than most of those guys, as quick as most of those guys. But when you get to the pros, you playing against guys who are quicker. It's just different. That's why, we need to look for young, athletic players. Plain and simple. Young and athletic. Young, athletic wings who can jump out the gym, who can run. We need those athletes. They need to be able to shoot too. But so that's why now, if you look at the draft, I'm going to talk about the draft for a little bit. It's a couple of players. I told people Marvin Bagley. Wendell Carter. I'm a big fan of Wendell Carter. Now he's moving up the draft. Why? Because he has multiple skills. He's a power forward / center. And also, too, as the Knicks draft and get players, the best players to get, and Isaiah Thomas said this a long time ago, and you see it happening now. The best players to get are players who are interchangeable. Those are always the best players. Combo players. You want a combo 3-4. You want a combo 2-3. You want a combo 1-2. You want a combo 4-5. Why? Because then you can play better defense and you can switch on everything. Wendell Carter is not a center, but I think he's 6'11", 6'10". You can pair him with Kristaps. He's hella athletic. He's a hell of a passer. He's perfect. He's a perfect guy to put alongside Kristaps because he also can shoot the three and he can score. So you can you can have two big guys. Basically, it'll be like AD and Boogie. Now, I'm not going to say that Wendell Carter will be as good as any of them, but that kind of thing. Then you have another guy I'm a big fan of is Kevin Knox. Now, he's not lighting the world on fire, but he's 6'9", hella athletic. I think he's like 6'9", 210. That means he's Paul George. He's running up and down that court. He's a deer. Then you have another guy, Mikal Bridges, who is a defensive specialist, who's scoring, but trust me, when he gets to the league, I don't think he's going to be that much of a scorer. I don't know. I don't think so. But he's definitely, defense translates to an NBA. And he's an athletic 3-guard that will help your team immediately and can put it like this. He's a shorter version of Tayshaun Prince. Remember, Tayshaun Prince in college was a hell of an offensive player, but when he got into the NBA, he was an okay offensive player, but an elite defensive player. He's a guy you could look at. Then you have Miles Bridges, who plays for Michigan State, who I'm a big fan of, who's been going up and down. He's hella athletic. He's a 3-4. He's better at the 3. He's better at the 4, but he's a 3-4. You can pair him next to Kristaps. That'll give you a dynamic 5-4, or you can put him, and he plays good defense. Or you can put him at the 3 if you want to play a big lineup, things like that. So, things like that. Didn't the Knicks have to make a decision? Or actually, I'm wrong. They don't have to make a decision on Kanter. Kanter will be back next year because he has an opt-out, opt-in at $17 million, and he's not going to opt out. Trust me, he's not. And if he opted out, the Knicks would be smart to look to re-sign him at a much lower number, 10 to 12 million. But again, for people who say they don't want Kanter, people who say Kanter doesn't fit in this team's long-term vision, How are you going to get that kind of production, double for 17 million? He's actually worth his contract. So it's not about him being worth the money he's getting. It's about you just liking him for your team. So he's worth that 17 million. Double machine. Some nights he's been the Knicks' best player. Bully, taking all the punishment that Kristaps will be taking. You know how many injuries Kristaps may have had? A willing learner, a willing passer. It's a guy you want to keep on your team. Figure out, you just want good players. Because again, at 17 million, who are you going to get that's going to be as good as him? Or who are you going to get who's going to play differently from him that may be slightly a difference maker at 17 million? Think about the 17 million, folks. Think about Tim Hardaway Jr. How much is he getting per year? 17, 18, something like that. That's the range of, he's on a good contract. Say what you want to say, but he's on a good contract. Anyway, folks, this has been Knicks Home Court. I'm your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 91, and I'll speak to y'all later. Peace.